have been reduced by more than $1.3 million in 2012. That cannot be real. Why would you reduce supplies by $1.3 million? It is not possible, even if reliance is placed on stores, for there to be that much of a reduction in supplies in any one year, Madam Speaker. Something definitely does not look right here. Minister, when so many patients and outpatients complain, and nurses frequently tell patients to go purchase their own supplies, how can you allow the Minister of Finance to reduce your supplies line item by nearly $1.3 million? Uniforms, I understand, suffer the same fate. I understand that staff members are sometimes sent back to their homes for not wearing uniforms, and that the hospital is now requiring staff members to purchase their own. I hope that is not true. The uniforms allocation have been reduced. Pardon me? Supplies on the item 24, page 243. I didn't see it said medical supplies, it just said supplies. What item number? Yes. Yes. That's different than supplies, sir. No, sir. No, sir. Why should I? Medical supplies is drugs. Supplies is Band-Aid, gauze, all the things that you use to wrap up people's things. They're two different items, Mr. Minister. Come on, don't try that smart one. But why increase medical supplies by nearly $50 million, but you reduce the general supplies? You need gauze, you need Band-Aid, you need the basic supplies. Should not reduce anything when it comes to that hospital. The terms of the contract, Madam Speaker, requires that uniforms be purchased by the hospital for staff. Uniforms have moved from $215,040 in 2010 to $20,577 in 2012, a 90% reduction. Do you see that, Mr. Minister, Mr. Honourable Member for St. John Cities? Why is that, sir? Why would you move uniforms from $215,040 in 2010 to $20,577? Is it because maybe you bought so many maybe in 2010 and maybe they don't need any? 2012, I do not know. That has to be an error, I think, though. Maybe a genuine error. But the Mount St. John Hospital cannot be shaving costs, Mr. Minister of Health. The impact on morale for such a tiny item in a budget of $51 million cannot be overstated. So kindly fix that. And Minister, through you, Madam Speaker, do you know that a 22-year-old expecting mother died of an ectopic pregnancy last week? She was admitted at 11 o'clock in the morning and was being wheeled to the theater almost 12 hours later, near midnight when she died. I'm sure you're aware of that. We spoke about it this morning, Mr. Minister. Can that be acceptable, Madam Speaker? A 12-year-old mother? She was not wheeled to the theater until midnight and she was admitted since 11 o'clock? A
12-year-old mother?
Pardon me?
A 12-year-old mother?
Lady, pregnant woman.
Oh, you said a 12-year-old mother?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
22-year-old, not 12. 22-year-old young lady who was pregnant was not wheeled to the theater until midnight, Madam Speaker, almost 12 hours after she was admitted. Can that be acceptable? They did not take care of her, Madam Speaker. And she constantly complained of abdominal pain, but they did nothing for her. And you know what happened? She developed a rupture, started to bleed, and she bled to death. They left her there to bleed to death in front of everyone. And Madam Speaker, this is a very easy case.
Honourable Member, I think you're kind of going overboard on that.
Why, Madam Speaker?
Because I had the same news item as you did, and I don't think you should be casting these kinds of aspersions on people who are not here to defend themselves.
I'm not casting any aspersions.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I'm not.
I think you're going overboard with that.
Madam Speaker, I do not seek to implicate anyone. You be quiet.
Well, you said they left her there to bleed
Madam
to death.
Speaker, if someone was admitted to hospital in the morning at 11 o'clock and she's pregnant and she's complaining of abdominal pain, and she's not
Honorable member.
until midnight.
Honorable member.
Yes.
Honorable,
it's a fact.
please. Honorable member. Again, don't go overboard on that.
I am not going to go.
No, you are not a
Candid
doctor.
to you, Madam Speaker.
You're not a doctor.
But that is a fact.
You are prejudging a situation, and I would advise you to stop.
I want to ask you, Madam Speaker, are you aware of how many cases that have been brought for malpractice against the Mount St. John? Are you aware?
Honorable member, I would ask you to stop.
But why we don't want the truth to come out, Madam Speaker?
You are not in a position because you are not in the position to determine the truth. Are you a medical doctor?
I'm not sure of what.
Honorable members, let's leave this subject alone. Move on, please.
And you know, Madam Speaker, the truth is this is not a one-off situation. I've come here in previous debates. I have listed out a whole slew of things. I've come here in the past, Madam Speaker. You all don't like to hear it. I will move on. But I've mentioned all the negligencies, the mishaps. Now you have a whole slew of law cases against the government. I don't know why you all don't want, so nobody can mention what is
going on. Well, if they're legal cases, let the court try them. Let the court try them. We're not going to try them. We're not trying, no, we are not trying cases in here.
Keep quiet. This is a simple case.
We are not trying any cases in here.
I'm not trying no case.
Well, leave them alone. Let them be tried in the courts of law.
If they, all it needed was proper surgical management and investigation and proper care. But the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Listen to the death announcements every day.
Can we move on from this?
All I will say on this, yeah, I'll move.
I don't want anything else on this.
All I have to say is that the contract up there, look, you had your turn to speak. That contract that was negotiated up there, Madam Speaker, was not negotiated by this present Minister of Health. It was negotiated by a previous Minister of Health. And the poor present Minister of Health has flung his hands up in the air. He has given up, and he has said he can do no more.
Madam Speaker,
he can't do anything no more.
On a point of information.
No, I'm not yielding to you, man. You have enough talk. I'm not yielding.
Point in information.
I'm not yielding.
Honorable member, if he does not yield.
I'm not yielding. Sit down. So I'm saying that this good minister has backed off.
Honorable member for Rural North, please.
This good minister has to back off because he has nothing to do with the negotiations. He didn't put that management contract up there. So he's stuck with it. So he has basically given up and thrown his hands up in the air. Madam Speaker, I'm saying the minister is well aware of what's happening up there, though, you know. He's well aware. I understand also that the number of doctors in emergency and operating theaters is often no more than one at a time, Madam Speaker. And that was the problem last week, I was made to learn. The long awaits at the emergency center, Madam Speaker, that has to change. Will that be continuing into 2012? Are there budget allocations for an increase in the number of emergency room doctors, Madam Speaker? Because I have seen none. I have seen none. And the liability that will attach as a consequence of any negligent death, you don't want me to mention any case, whether it's a 22-year-old woman or older person, it will exceed many times the cost over hiring additional competent medical doctors. So let them put it in the budget and fund you to bring in proper doctors and adequate enough for the emergency and the operating rooms. Madam Speaker, can I address the state of the Param clinic, of the clinic in Param now, Madam Speaker? You don't know the amount of people dying up there every day like flies.
Honorable member, honorable members.
Madam Speaker, can I address the state of the clinic, the health clinic in Param? The amount of grass and vegetation mix getting to the clinic whenever rain falls, Madam Speaker. A threat to the well-being of expectant mothers, to the elderly and even the professionals who work there. They complain every day. The place is surrounded by high bush. No time about no rain coming. Because it's bush all year round because the clinic is in Param. The private contractor used to keep the grass cut has been fired now, Madam Speaker. Now the growth is beyond reasonable. The building itself is in poor shape. It leaks. Water come down and wet down the nurses and the patients. I had the district nurse in my office on Friday, Thursday last week, complaining. Not even a Doppler. Not even a Doppler the ministry will buy. So that they can sound the heart of the babies. The supplies are non-existent. The monthly supply of cleaning fluids, just like Clorox and other necessities, are so inadequate that donations must be sought. The medical supplies to enable assessment of the patient's health are woefully lacking. When will the Param clinic be treated as though it is responsible for ensuring good health? The people up there must not be victimized. Madam Speaker, healthcare is important not just for Mount St. John, but in all the urban districts, and all the district clinics are equally as important. Madam Speaker, the young men and women who utilize the basketball court and sporting facilities in Param, we now have to confront cassie trees. Cassie trees growing all in the middle of the court, that they can't even play basketball. They won't clean it, they fire the people, the bathrooms don't work. It's not right. The whole place is overgrown with unwanted vegetation. I want to ask the Minister of Sports and Minister of Public Works, or whichever ministry is in charge, when will the fenced sporting fields in Param and Piers and the bathroom facilities receive attention? In fact, the basketball court in Piers that dug it up 7 years ago, gave it a private contractor, never fixed it back. So for 7 years, those young people can't play basketball in Piers. How can that be right? And there's 2 lights on the Piers football field. 2! And I have to go in my pocket and buy lights every year because this government refused. The only 2 fields they refuse to cut is Param Field and Piers football field. They don't cut yours? Well, you pick up the phone, you have contacts. I'm in opposition. You can get it cut for free. Madam Speaker, I want to know now that the contractors and others have made their millions on building fences all over the country. Can we have some follow-up on the maintenance of these sporting facilities, these playing fields? The places are a threat to the well-being of the users. So what's the sense of going and spending $50 million on these playing fields and they have no follow-up? Madam Speaker, I realize that there will be very little infrastructural development and a very little infrastructure work for 2012. Because we heard from the Minister of Public Works, the Honourable Member from Barbuda, that money for patching up streets will be spent sparingly. And he sounded very happy. He sounded very content. He was not even fighting for more money. In 2012, a sum of $2.5 million has been budgeted to maintain roads and streets and drains all around Antigua and Barbuda. Madam Speaker, $2.5 million? $2.5 million, that sum cannot even repair the roads in Param, in Painters, in Guntrops, Lightfoot West, and Piers. Imagine Public Works has a budget of $2.5 million for road repairs all across Antigua and Barbuda. It's a joke. It's ludicrous. Can't be serious. I mean, go to page 308 of the budget estimates, item 36010, and you see it. The amount in 2010 was insufficient. Everyone knows that. And the amount for 2012 is sorely inadequate. It is not enough, not sufficient.